What is going on, guys? It's your boy Drizzy26, aka Andre Alford, back here for another edition of FanDuel Friday, and I'm here with my great co-host, my good friend TJ Zwarych. How you doing, TJ? How's everything?
Doing very well. Life's good. I got a pretty bad headache, but other than that, I'm just going with the flow, and life's pretty good. We got a fun NFL slate ahead of us. We'll talk mostly the main slate, but save some time for a little bit of Saturday action at the end here. It's a bit of fun on both these slates here.
Yeah, it seems like it's gonna be a good one. Both little slates were as far as the main, and as far as the Okay, and as far as the Saturday slate, Saturday's got some NFL news. Ramondre Stevens and Devin Harris and Jacoby Myers are all questionable, which I'm sure you guys will get that in a little bit. But yeah, so I think it's gonna be a good one. Something we're gonna go through and see how we can do to help you guys build a good FanDuel lineup and hopefully win some money. So let's just dive right into it at the quarterback position. Obviously, this is headlined by Patrick Mahomes going against Houston in the spot, but we also do have a Jalen Hurts here who came off a good game against the Giants last week and now gets a chance to go up against the Chicago Bears, and then Justin Herbert going against that soft secondary in Tennessee, and then my guy Joe Burrow to wrap it up at the 8K and above range going against Tampa Bay. How do you like these guys today?
So Jalen Hurts is definitely my priority from an optimal lineup standpoint. He's the guy I'm going with. If I felt like I really need to save salary with somebody, I think in my optimals I would just go to the other quarterback in this game and go with Justin Fields instead. I always like getting that running upside in my single entry style optimal cash kind of lineup. And so I think I'd be looking at Hurts or Fields in those spots. And then from a tournament standpoint, if I'm playing a lot of lineups, I'm looking at a total of 8 quarterbacks today, and that's going to be it. I'm looking at Mahomes, Hurts, Herbert, Joe Burrow, Justin Fields, Dak Prescott, Trevor Lawrence, and believe it or not, Ryan Tannehill.
Whoa. Ryan Tannehill?
Ryan Tannehill. The reason for that is because I really like the spot this Tennessee offense is in this week, facing a weak Chargers defense with no Derwin James, their best defender. Like Derrick Henry is probably going to be my favorite running back this week, at least my favorite expensive running back this week, and I'm going to get a lot of him. But in some lineups that I don't have Derrick Henry, I think I'm going to mix in just a little bit of Ryan Tannehill in there.
Yeah, I mean that's interesting. Wow. I was expecting Ryan Tannehill. I mean, I get it with the Chargers defense, but he hasn't had a ceiling game, in my opinion, so that's kind of hard for me to kind of want to get to.
If we get in the 20s out of him at 6'9", I'm pretty happy with that on this slate. Like outside of Hurts and Fields, I don't know if we're gonna be getting any like big scores from QBs this week, and so as long as Hurts is hanging out around 30, if Tannehill gets there in the mid-20s, I think that'll do it for us this week. And I just think this entire Titans offense in general is pretty interesting. But we'll get to that. That's a 150 max, get 8% of type of thing for me. Double the field on the 3 or 4% that Tannehill is going to be owned. But in a single entry, 3 entry max, I don't think I'm going to be going there. It's going to be Hurts and Fields priority 1 and 2, and then I'm still figuring out who that third quarterback is going to be between Prescott, Burrow, Mahomes, and Herbert.
I like my favorite overall is going to be Jalen Hurts. He just continues to put on the show, shows why he's the MVP of the league this year. And it's just a good matchup, but this game could be close. Just because Justin Fields has the ability to keep it keep the game close on his feet. So I kind of like Jalen Hurts a lot, so I don't mind taking some shots at him, having him be my number 1 overall exposed quarterback. Justin Herbert will come in second, followed probably by Patrick Mahomes if we want to go for the top 3 here. But then I do also like you do have a low guy quarterback you like with Ryan Tannehill, but I'm going to go with a guy like Mac Jones, who's going to go for New England against the Vegas Raiders here in this spot. So I think that they give it up in the secondary. Their defense is not that great, so I'll take my chances and go go with that one instead. And I know both options are not really the best, but Tannehill probably has a little bit more optimal, might be more have more success in the air um versus them than Mac Jones might. But I just think Mac Jones is my guy that I want to use it. I think could be really sneaky this week.
I love the total game environment of the Tennessee and Chargers one. I think it's got some sneaky upside alongside with the not so sneaky upside in this one. So I like Herbert. I like Tannehill. I think if I was running 4 lineups this week, how I'd want to prioritize it would be 2 optimal style lineups, one with Hurts, one with Fields, and then 2 game stacks of that Tennessee Chargers game, one with Herbert and Derrick Henry, one with Tannehill and Austin Eckler, and just kind of see where things go from there.
Yeah. I think I would probably do the same thing. I don't want, and that game is a good game. That game is probably going to be the most popular game on the slate by far. And I don't mind that, but I think it's this week is somewhat similar to last week in a way where you can go with that game, but we might get deceived, and some of these other games could go off and potentially be good spots, especially on one side. So I think it can happen for sure for both sides, but I think, like I said, looking at some of these other guys would be good, like Mac Jones, like I mentioned before, or even like the side of the Kansas City side with just with just Mahomes not running it back. Um, or even Hurts, but we'll get into those later on in this show.
I don't hate the Matt call. I think I would just rather go with one of his cheap receivers as opposed to a full Mac Jones stack. So, like, as opposed to going Jones and 2 or 3 of his pass catchers, just rolling with just Kendrick Bourne or just Nelson Aguilar or something like that. Because I don't really think all of these guys are going to go off, but I could 100% see one of those two just like catching a 50-yard bomb at some point in this game. Because, like you mentioned, it's not like we're very afraid of this Vegas secondary. But like if we pivot over to the running back position, I got a pretty tight pool here as well.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to actually say let's go over to the running back position. Where obviously we lead up with Josh Jacobs being the most expensive running back on the slate here, followed by Derrick Henry. And this is his time of the year, being in the winter time, and it's colder out. And Eckler and Tony Pollard and Joe Mixon rounding out the 8K and above range here. So, what do you like on them, and then these other guys here at running back who you might have some interest in?
Derrick Henry's definitely my priority 1 this week, facing a Chargers defense that sucks against the run without Derwin James, one of their better defenders. Helps in the pass and the run defense. And so Derrick Henry's priority 1 for me. Priority 2 in terms of spend up for GPPs is going to be Austin Eckler. I love Austin Eckler this week. And I even think just due to how involved he is in the passing game, you actually can play Eckler and Derrick Henry in the same lineup. I don't think they're going to negatively correlate with each other too badly. If we look in the next tier of guys, the Miles Sanders, Alvin Kamara, and James Conner are kind of where I'm looking from optimal perspectives. And now Conner has a tough matchup without his QB. He's just been getting so many touches. He runs, he catches the ball out of the backfield. And so, like, if we're going to be getting 20 carries for James Conner and 8 targets for James Conner, like he's got a good floor on him. However, I am concerned with the ceiling, and so I do like him as a cash game play, but I don't know how much I like him as in tournaments. I would rather go with Miles Sanders or Alvin Kamara in tournaments. I think both of them are phenomenal options. And then the other 2 situations I'm really looking at, like, don't get me wrong, I'm still going to be mixing in both Dallas running backs, Joe Mixon, Isaiah Pacheco, some of these guys that we talk about each week. But Deontay Foreman is another one, a little Cordero Patterson in tournaments. But I think the important pieces really to touch on are Houston's running back situation. No Damian Pierce in this one, and they're going against Kansas City, and they got 2 pass catching backs back there with Dare Ogunbowale and Rex Burkhead. And so I think Dare is projecting pretty darn well, almost double-digit points here. He is a very interesting tournament option for me, run back in some cheap stacks. And then we have to monitor this New England running back situation because Ramondre Stevenson got hurt last week. And when that happened, Damian Harris was also out. They're both listed as questionable, and these are real questionables, I kind of think. We're currently projecting Stevenson out and Harris in, but Harris has been so hurt this season that who knows how long he'll last in there if he plays. And then if he doesn't play, we're left with Kevin Harris and Pierre Strong Jr. sub 5K. It's looking kind of interesting. Last game, after Stevenson went down, Harris had 8 rushes, 26 yards. He had a rushing touchdown. Pierre Strong was also very involved in the game. He had 5 rushes for 70 yards and a touchdown. He also had 2 targets. I think Strong would probably be my preference. I think he's probably kind of the more speedy receiving back. Kevin Harris is more pounded on the goal line. So I think they're both interesting, and I'd want to get to both of them quite a bit if we're without Harris and Stevenson in this game.
No, I completely agree with you. We definitely want to try to get to them as much as we possibly can. Especially if both Harris and Stevenson are out. Strong would be my favorite to go with for sure. Someone I definitely want to get more exposure to. But I hope we don't have to deal with that situation, because at that point he's going to become massively popular in chalk because of the simple fact of his price being where it is, and he would allow you to really get a couple of the spend ups here on this slate. But those are the times when I would then want to get off, and if I did have to get off, I would go with some other guys that are up top but more expensive. Like, I love Miles Sanders, and think he's in a great spot with the Chicago Bears here, so he's what I'm looking at. Alvin Kamara, I don't know what to do with him. That's my guy, our guy. We love what he does for the Saints, but he should be able to dominate this matchup. But to me, the quarterback is just in Dalton is just killing him.
Yeah, the offense doesn't look good by any means.
Yeah.
No Mark Ingram in this one should solidify a little bit more red zone work, but at the same time, you also have Taysom Hill popping in there. So
exactly,
he projects well, but I don't think he's all that safe of an option, which is why if we get some of these cheapy running backs opening up, I think I'm really going to be looking to pay all the way up for guys like Derrick Henry and Austin Eckler, or pay all the way down for the New England backs or Houston backs.
Yeah, and I don't even mind.
Sonic loves that call. Sonic is all about the New England backs today.
Yeah, so hopefully Sonic maybe gets a little lucky, and maybe we'll keep them in and keep them playing. So I like James Conner here as well. I don't mind him. I'll have a little bit of him, but not a whole lot. It's just more of a situation where we got like Denver's a good defense. Like no matter what you say, they are still a good defense. So I think this team might end up falling because they already know, it's kind of over in a way for them this year. So that's how they're gonna like at it. They're washing their hands of it and going to be done with it. So, but we can see how it works out and how it goes. I also do like these Detroit running backs against the Jets. I do love Montgomery and I do love Swift. I'm going to be playing them both a little bit here in GPPs. I think they're fantastic and phenomenal options as well. Other than that, I think that's all I'm really going to have interest in. I'm not going to really have that much. I think running back is probably a pool where surprisingly I'm going to be able to get tighter than a few of them, maybe and reduce it to probably less than. Hopefully, I'm hoping less than 7 or 8, but we'll see.
Depends how many lineups for me. Like I think I'll always have like 15 plus guys there, but a lot of them will be only people I'm getting 5% of if I'm running 150 lineups. So for example, if Damian Harris plays, I would still get 5% of Pierre Strong. The Deonta Foreman's, Cordell Patterson's, David Montgomery's, Travis Etienne, Joe Mixon, Tony Pollard, Ezekiel Elliott. Those are all guys 5 to 10, 5 to 15% of I'd be looking to get to. And then I'd have my cores of Derrick Henry, Eckler, and whatever cheap ones open up that I'm getting like 50+% of in those spots. But it's kind of that slate for everything today because like I got tight positions everywhere.
Yeah, and also I want to mention one guy too, Zonovan McKnight or Zonovan Knight. I don't think we should play him this week just because we got word today that Zach Wilson will be starting at quarterback today.
Yeah.
Those checkdowns are not going to be there. So,
and those checkdowns might be to Michael Carter because Knight's more the running guy anyway.
Exactly. So I'm kind of really don't want to play with that stuff right now until they make up their mind who they want to play at quarterback. So
yeah, I'm with you there.
Yeah. So I think we should move on to the wide receivers here, where we definitely have this headline by the one and only Jamar Chase, which I don't know how he's more expensive than Devontae Adams. Devontae should definitely be a little bit more expensive. I think Devontae's just been an all-world eater, the best receiver in the league, if not definitely one of the best for sure. But Jamar Chase is going to match up against Tampa Bay. It's a secondary that is supposed to be tough, that is supposed to be getting healthy, but I think that he can take advantage of this matchup too, along with DeAndre Hopkins, Amon-Ra St. Brown, who just continues to crush everything, and A.J. Brown and CeeDee Lamb. So what is your opinion on this slate?
Jamar Chase is my favorite pay-up option. I'm going to make some stands at the receiver this week. I'm going to fade DeAndre Hopkins. I'm going to fade Amon-Ra St. Brown. Chase is my top option, and then I'm looking to stack guys like A.J. Brown, Keenan Allen. I'm really just waiting to see where I want to go. Like, so much of this slate depends on how injuries roll. And they're two very, very specific situations for me. Because if those running backs for New England are out, the Patriots are out, then I'm going to be paying down at running back quite a bit. But if those guys are in, and then say T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd, bang, both outs. T. Higgins is questionable, Boyd is too, but he looks like he's definitely not going to be playing. If Higgins and Boyd are both out, then I'm kind of looking at this like, well, dang, why don't I just pay up at running back, get Derrick Henry and Austin Eckler? I'll get my Jamar Chase in there, and then who are these other receivers I'd want to put in with my Joe Burrow stack? I got a 5'2" Trenton Irwin. I got cheap plays all over the place here, and so if we get that news and we're missing some Cincinnati receivers, crazy enough, that actually catapults Joe Burrow up in my exposure list because that means there's more cheap receivers I get to play with him and I get to play other players I like with him. And so I'd be getting a lot more Joe Burrow and I'd be getting a ton more of these Cincinnati receivers with him, headlined, of course, by Jamar Chase, but then also Trenton Ingram, Trent Taylor, who's also questionable. Like, they could be super undermanned here at the receiver position, and they're a very interesting team to take some shots on this week in terms of cheapies. But while I'm prioritizing Chase number one, probably A.J. Brown with my Hurts teams, and then CeeDee Lamb number two, Keenan Allen right alongside there with them. The Jerry Jeudy explosion last week is tempting, don't get me wrong. And I don't think he's a bad play by any means, especially at that ownership. I like that taking a shot on Jerry Jeudy, but I think my favorite tournament receiver just kind of in a vacuum, especially in this mid-tier, is going to be Mike Williams.
And I don't blame you. Mike Williams is back. I look for him to be very effective here in this game. I love this platform. I think he can go off here too, so I don't mind that call. I love the Mike Williams call today. I hope he comes a little bit less on, but he probably won't because his price is so good. But I like getting to him a lot. I love getting to a guy like Chris Olave a good amount as well too, who's just proven time and time again how he just can run around really, really, really well and get open and get the ball and create separation. So he's going to do like a lot of, and obviously the top guys from AJ Brown up. I love today. I love getting to, except for D Hop. I'm not going to really have much of him, even though we know he can beat any defense here. I just think that it's kind of tough. Obviously going against the Denver secondary, who's not going to give up many points to them, especially with a backup quarterback and Colt McCoy. So I'm just probably staying away from that. I might stay away from it altogether and just fade Arizona completely on the slate. I just got to see how I feel about it. Jamar Chase is what I'm looking at possibly too as well. I don't mind Keenan Allen taking some shots taking some shots on him. Um, Jacksonville stuff, I do like Zay Jones and Kirk to go with them a lot too as well. Josh Palmer's gonna be the one that's left out of this Chargers stacks. So Josh Palmer's someone I think we should try to roster maybe more than the field, especially since he's going to be probably lower on than what we imagine it to be possibly as well.
I agree. I like those. I like that Jacksonville call quite a bit. Somebody like Drake London is interesting, and just because I want to get to a lot of Derrick Henry, a lot of Austin Eckler, I am going to be going to a lot of these cheap receivers, these New England ones: Thornton, Bourne, Aguilar. It's Robert Woods week. You heard it here first. It's Robert Woods week alongside Ryan Tannehill. Robert Woods is going to have a big day. I'm going to get to some Westbrook Akine. And then the priority will be these Cincinnati cheapies if they happen to, if Boyd and T. Higgins happen to be ruled out. And then, of course, Chris Moore getting a ton of targets with that opportunity he's getting in Houston right now as well.
Yeah. I don't know if other show touched on it, and I'm going to touch on it too with the Chris Moore thing. He had one big game. Let's not overreact to one big game, even though I understand what he did was fantastic. 11.
It's just, I think for me, it's even less than the receptions and the yards. It's just the amount of targets he got. They have nobody else there. Nico Collins isn't playing. Damian Pierce is out now. Like, he's just basically guaranteed double-digit targets at this point.
Yeah, I get that, but I mean, and the thing is, the Kansas City team is a pass funnel, but what do we expect from him? Do we expect?
Not much, and so I do think there's merit in constructing your lineups this week. Kind of looking at this, going, well, I probably want to play one of the Houston cheap running backs, one of the Houston cheap receivers, or Kansas City's defense. Like, realistically, because of how cheap those guys and the opportunity they're going to get, one of them is going to do well, or the offense gets completely shut down, in which case his defense is going to be probably optimal. So I think that's kind of an interesting way at looking at this. But there is a lot more cheap receivers that I think we can take shots on this week, and still injury pending on a few of them, but even some of them not, like New England and my guy Robert Woods, Kez Watkins. Those guys I'm very excited to take some shots on as well.
Yeah, I definitely. I don't mind. Robert Woods is someone that scares me, but if I'm playing Watkins and I played him last week, I shouldn't mind playing Robert Woods. So I don't mind it. I don't hate it. So.
And then let's look at some tight ends, because Travis Kelce projects for almost double anybody else. Dalton Schultz is the next closest, but he's been priced way up there. It's no longer Andrews and Kelce up top. It's just Kelce to take up that ownership, and he's actually kind of a bit less expensive than he usually is. Darren Waller might be back at the cheap price tag of 5-1. Cole Kmet is picking up some ownership, mainly just because Justin Fields will be picking up some ownership. What do you think of the tight end spot here? Because we only have 3 right now projected for over 10%. One of them is Chiga Kongwu, and that's actually one of the reasons why I'm interested in playing Ryan Tannehill with him.
Chiga Kongwu is going to be a fantastic play here. Can he have the same performance that he did the last time?
5 or more receptions in 3 straight weeks. I do like him in this spot, and I don't even think it's that crazy to mix in the other tight end on this team, Austin Hooper, in a couple spots. For me, I would rather go.
You would play. I wouldn't play Austin Hooper and a Congo together because they both are not going to have.
No, not together. Not together.
Oh yeah, but I say not together. They're not going to have
No.
games together.
I'm talking about in my Tannehill stacks.
Okay.
I'll get a little Austin Hooper instead of Kongwu in some lineups. But yeah, it's not even that I don't think they can both score touchdowns and have a decent game. It's more so I just don't want to use a tight end on a flex. Like I just would rather use it as. I don't think I agree with you. They can't have ceilings for flexes. They could have tight end type ceilings, but we don't care because we don't have two tight end positions. And so, like, for me, I'm kind of looking at all the way up to Kelsey or all the way down to a Kongwo. Gerald Everett would probably be my next favorite, but I really like also mixing in some Taysom Hill in tournaments.
I was just going to bring him up. He is my favorite tight end on the week because it's Atlanta. They're not that good against the run, and they want to use Taysom Hill as much as they possibly can. So Taysom Hill is my favorite tournament to spend. I feel like you could run it back with someone if you want to. Otherwise, you don't have to really run it back. But if you didn't want to run it back, I would run it back with maybe even the passing game might work. Or if you want to, just give it to
or hell, even stack it with the Saints defense.
True. That is actually a good thing. And treat it like a running back situation because Taysom Hill ultimately is going to be running the ball a lot. So I love that call a lot. I think that's a great call. And yeah, other than that, I don't really have much in tight end. Kelsey, Komet, Dolich. I'm going to use this mainly to stack sometimes.
Exactly. It's Kelsey, Okongwu, Taysom Hill, and then stacks.
Yeah, Gerald Everett too. Don't sleep on him.
Yeah, I just will have a lot of.
Yeah, if you're
Justin
having
Herbert stacks,
so
it's like I don't know how much Everett I'll have outside of those, but if I'm gonna have 10 to 15% Herbert, then I'm all good.
Yeah, because Herbert, because Everett is going to he can have a big game today, or on Sunday, I should say, not today. Well, let's go defense real quick. Do you want to touch on defenses? Any defenses you're interested in more than others, or like? I find this position to be highly random. Me, it's kind of hard to say what defense I want to go with. I'm picking having a smaller pool than most, but
you play the Denver Broncos in cash today. That's all that matters. They're going to be 20+% owned, and they're underpriced, and they have the best projection. Play them in cash. Other than that, play literally whoever the heck you want. We have so many backup quarterbacks playing. It's random. Any team that scores a touchdown can break the slate. The Chiefs are in a great spot. Cowboys are in an interesting spot. Eagles are in a great spot. Saints are in a great spot. Panthers, even the Cardinals themselves. Tons of teams in good spots here. You want to go cheap, you can play some Chargers, some Bengals, even some Falcons. And so play whoever the heck you want. Just make sure if you're playing a cash game, you play the Denver Broncos.
I agree with that 100%. I think the Broncos are a must overall today for sure, especially cash. GPP is not so much, I think, because obviously the ownership is there. But if you were to keep high in ownership, make sure you go different elsewhere in other positions. So that way you're not duplicated in your lineup, even though the high possibility that is slim, but you never know. But I do like the Broncos a lot today for sure. So let's. I don't have anything else actually for the slate. I think the slate is kind of a tank for a 10-game slate. I pretty think it's almost a little bit straightforward in a way. What about you?
I agree. I'm kind of running with the same page here, and I'm working on maybe building some potential lineups. It's still hard to know until we get some injury news, and so I don't think we have to focus too much about a lineup build yet. But I think we kind of covered most of this main slate and the what ifs pretty well here. What do you say we swap it to Saturday and see if we can build a little lineup quick or half a lineup quick for the Saturday slate before we get out of here?
Yeah, let's do that real quick. Since it is a 3-gamer, we are going to talk briefly about it. Obviously, we have these 3 games with Indy versus Minnesota, Baltimore versus Cleveland, and Miami versus Buffalo. I'm assuming everyone's going to go to this Miami Buffalo spot, which I don't mind at all, but I would take my quarterback to be Kirk Cousins in this spot. What about you?
And I would go Josh Allen. And so I think here's what we do is we don't plug Allen or Cousins in yet.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at the rest of these positions.
Yeah.
And just kind of assume like we're trying to build a single entry tournament lineup, not cash, single entry tournament. So somewhat optimal, but also finding a couple ways to get different. Let's look at these running backs, receiver, tight end prices, and then kind of see what we got left. Can we afford Josh Allen, who in a vacuum is the guy, but $1,500 is a big difference. And so I think that's kind of how we want to prioritize this here.
That's really good. So yeah, so at running back here, obviously the top spend is going to be Jonathan Taylor. Going against Minnesota, it's a good matchup for him. He should perform and do well. But do we need him at 9K?
So we're playing Jonathan Taylor, I think, if Kirk Cousins is our quarterback. And if we're rolling Josh Allen, I think we're fading Jonathan Taylor. I think that's kind of the way that I'm looking at it.
I'm looking at it differently.
Yeah?
Yeah, because I think you can still run. I'd rather run a receiver. I like Jonathan Taylor. I think he's a good play, but I'm more high on, like, I think Pittman than Jonathan Taylor right now. I could be wrong. But
yeah, it's possible. Just the thing is I feel like if Jonathan, if we're going to see Kirk Cousins reach his ceiling, Jonathan Taylor will also be having a good game because it means they're putting up some points.
Yeah, true.
But I think the first player we're putting in is Raheem Mostert. Like, I think that's the most important. He saved salary. No Jeff Wilson. Yes, it's going up against Buffalo, and it's a tough matchup, but he should be involved in the passing game as well. The next guy on their roster are Gaskin and Ahmed and Alec Ingold. Like, these are still Mostert should still be getting the passing work here. $6,200 with no what's his name? Jeff Wilson Jr. I think we definitely got to go Raheem.
Yeah, and then Von Miller's also not going to be there, so I kind of like that play a little bit too. So, well, who else you want to go with here at the other one real quick? Or do you want to leave that one blank?
I'd say maybe leave it for now, knowing we're considering Jonathan Taylor, J.K. Dobbins, Devin Singletary, James Cook. Like, I think those would be the four that I would want to be looking at. What about you?
For the most part, yes. But I don't mind taking some shots on a guy like Gus Edwards here. I guess.
Okay.
I don't mind.
I was gonna say I don't mind taking the idea. I don't mind the idea of taking a shot on Nick Chubb as well.
Oh, Chubb, I'm gonna.
Let's leave the second position open for now and see what we got less. Like, we're gonna find our favorites, our priorities.
Yeah.
So far, it's Raheem Mostert. Let's look at the receiver position. Obscene ownership at 70%, but I am not comfortable fading in a single entry Justin Jefferson.
I agree. I think you have to play him, and that's why I think you need. That's why I personally think like I think Pittman is a better play in my opinion than going with Jonathan Taylor because I think they're gonna have to play catch up through the air, but it could be a completely different too. It could be both. You never know.
It could be. And so, what do you think about at the receiver position here? We go, just for now, Jefferson, Gabe Davis, and Michael Pittman.
I'm not a fan of Gabe Davis.
You don't like the Gabe call? I like the Gabe call. He's going to be one of my favorites on this slate. Very few players have that. Like, the only players with higher upsides than him are Diggs, Hill, and Jefferson, and they're all priced 2 to 3K above him. So I like me some Gabe Davis in tournaments, but we don't have to fill out that spot. If we're separate on it, then that's not one of the places that gets locked in. I do really like getting Michael Pittman in there, so I am perfectly fine with filling him in that secondary receiver spot here. If we're not going Gabe, what do you think about somebody like Isaiah McKenzie or Stephon Diggs?
Well, I I definitely think we need one receiver. I'm debating between do I want to spend up or don't want to spend down with one of those because I do like Tyreek Hill a little bit too. But you can't have everybody. You can't play everybody. You know.
I honestly,
I think.
as we do this, I don't think you can play this slate without doing a game stack
Well, I think for sure
and
that's
full.
probably gonna be but that's gonna be the only way to win, in my opinion. Which
Mm-hmm.
I think.
I can't really see myself building a lineup I'm
Yeah,
comfortable with that's getting half Indy, Minnesota, half Miami, Buffalo.
actually, so then let's put Diggs here because I like the Diggs call, and then at that because we don't even have to go with a guy like Tyreek Hill. We can go with Waddle if we really need to. He's still fast enough and gets up and down the field quick enough where he can catch the ball. Gabe Davis could be a good player after all, but he hasn't performed up to the standards I had expected from him over the season. You know,
Yeah,
so
just he's a boom bust type guy.
yeah,
He's DK Metcalf. He's um who else? Mike Williams, like the type of guy that you're not going to be able to book for 15 to 18 every week, but he'll get you 30 or he'll get you 5 kind of thing. I am looking at some ways of doing this, and I do think if we want to play some Justin Jefferson, we want to play some Michael Pittman, there are ways to make yourselves a pretty nice Indy, Minnesota mini stack with Kirk Cousins as your main guy, and then you still get your pieces of that last game in Mostert and Diggs.
look at that. That works. And then if you go to running back here, I mean, I will have to research into like this Hunt and Cook situation and Drake situation with the
If
respect.
you're comfortable playing Kareem Hunt or James Cook, you can make a very, very beautiful lineup, or maybe even both, because you got the Browns defense in there to save some salary. You got TJ Hawkinson you can throw in at the tight end position there. You got your full stack. You got your Mostert and Diggs. That would probably be my favorite way of starting. Like if we throw in TJ Hawkinson here, that would be my favorite way of starting a single entry tournament.
I don't mind that. I like it, and I like it.
2 pass catchers, 2 of the mainstays of the other high scoring game.
And I think we just find, and there's plenty of ways for you to get different here and still.
Exactly. And you're looking at like you can go, if you want to do something crazy, you can go up to Singletary or Dobbins at that other running back position. More than likely, you're going to go with Kareem Hunt, James Cook, or Gus Edwards. All of those options are fine. If you're trying to do something large field crazy, maybe you do Alexander Madison and say, hey, it's a small slate. He catches a receiving touchdown for Kirk Cousins today. And then at that flex position, you can double down at the running back position, or get a little bit more exposure with somebody like an Isaiah McKenzie. Get a little bit more indie exposure with somebody like an Alec Pierce or a Paris Campbell. But I think my favorite thing to use that flex position for would be KJ Osborne.
Yeah, I think
$5,500. Just do a complete stack there.
So you want to just do like a full on onslaught. Like, I don't mind that. And KJ's gonna be 3%.
Because not even onslaught, just points. You know what I mean? Like if we go KJ Osborne there, and like we don't even have to fill it out on the screen here, but like go someone like a Browns D, that leaves us $4,800 or $5,800 for the last running back position to choose between James Cook, Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt, interesting because you're pairing him with the Browns defense. James Cook, interesting because you have Diggs, you don't have Josh Allen. Maybe he runs in a touchdown, and that is how Josh Allen is not optimal.
But then Cook did not get a lot of work last week, like we expected him to.
But it's a 3-game slate.
So
that's basically what it comes down to.
Yeah, you have to take some shots somewhere and plan it out that way. So, but I like this build. I might try to, run something off of that. We'll see how I feel. But yeah, I think this is a good one. If y'all want to take it, here, screenshot it, like it, subscribe to it, caress it, do whatever you got to do with that like button. But let us know how you feel about this. And also let us know about what you think of the show, feedback, what you would like to see or hear from us more on the show. We're open to obviously suggestions and questions. And we want to definitely get your questions. And we also want to give away free RG Premium. So once again, we are going to give away a week's worth of free RG Premium for the person who can guess the team on this slate, NFL wise, on the Sunday main slate, who has the highest score. What team is going to put up the highest score? Put in the comments. Make sure you add me, Andre Alford, or TJ Zwarych on Twitter. Or if you want to slide into our DMs, slide into our DMs. And
Or simply just include your RG username in your
yeah,
comment. You
exactly.
do that, then Devin will just be able to go click a couple buttons and get that. If you don't want to have the contact with us, you prefer staying behind the scenes, you drop your RG username, then Devin can hook you up with that premium account right there.
Yes, definitely for sure. So before we get ready to get out of here, is there anything that you have left, TJ, to discuss or missed?
As we're recording this, it's not NBA lock yet, and so if this gets out in time, head over to the NBA FanDuel Friday page. Luch and I are doing another giveaway as well. Nice 20-minute show. Pick the highest score on the slate and how many points they're going to score. We're giving away a free week of RG Premium. So head over there quick as well, and let's win some money this weekend. We got FanDuel Friday, and then we're going to be playing the slates on Saturday and Sunday, so it's going to be some fun.
Yes, it will be, definitely for sure. So to get out of here, I'm Andre. This is TJ, and we'll see you. Have a good one.